morning, Indies. It is Sunday, the final day of our big weekend, the most epic day of all, some might say. It's been such a great weekend so far. Thank you so much to everybody for the support you've given us, for tuning in. Nick, how's it going? How are you doing?
Not bad, thank you. It's been an interesting weekend so far. I'm looking forward to what's going on today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I think getting the chance to like just look ahead to the panels and to see what's going to be coming up is so cool because it gets you in the zone, right? So we're here to put everybody listening in the zone. So no pressure, no pressure, but it's it's
No,
all good.
no.
How are things with you anyway, Nick? Before we get into it, how are things with your writing, with your books? How's it going?
It's going well. It really is at the moment. So I'm in the flow with the current series that I'm writing. So that's like kept me busy. I'm doing the Wrecking Squad series at the moment, which is the fifth book comes out in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, which is exciting because it's the real blockbuster section of the storyline. So that's I'm looking forward to that out and see what reaction that gets. And the sixth book, I'm about 40,000 words in. Did some midterm editing today, so it's been it's an exciting time, especially when you come to the conclusion of a series. It's like you feel like you've got there,
Yeah.
and that's the last leg that you're just gasping for air going along. It actually doesn't feel like that this time. It feels like it's accelerating. So
Yeah.
it's been a good week actually from that point of view.
Yeah, great. I love it. I think if you can start off a year in a good space writing wise, I think it sets you up for the whole year, right? But if I start like January, February, if I smash it, I'm like, yes, I've got this. Like it's weird how that works. Are you similar, or are you just sort of like, does it not matter on the calendar that as long as you're writing, it's all good?
Yeah, I think it's because I mean I'm basically doing this. I'm early retired, so I'm basically doing this as a hobby, but practically full time.
Mm,
From that point of view, so it kind of like there's an impetus that's always there.
mm,
I'm quite an obsessive person. Once I've got something in my head that I want to get down, and it comes from that. I think that the lull would come if I was in between ideas.
mm.
Haven't been at that point yet. That's the part that I can you can feel it. You got to keep the momentum going, the ball rolling all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I've been lucky the last few years. I've had that crossover point where the last few books in the series have been coming out in the spring. So you've got that impetus still going as well from that. So
Yeah, I love
so
it.
far, not so far, it's been going all right in that period of the year.
I love it. It's great. It's great. And that's the thing. Like if you've got I love that you've got the space for that in your schedule and in your routine that you can make time for that. It's so valuable, especially as an indie author, right? Because when you're in control of your deadlines and how much you put out there, to be able to have that freedom of being able to say, right, okay, well, how am I gonna get this out there? You know, you're not beholden to a deadline from a publisher. You're not having to wait for it to come out for a year. You're just like, yeah, I can do this. I could get this together, bosh that out. I think it's great. It's great. Um, in terms of your books, Nick, how many of them have got maps in them?
Yeah. um, well, I've got three books with the same map in them. That's the best way of describing it. So I'm a so it's odd in terms of maps. I know we're coming on to the panel with the maps and everything else as well that's coming up. I thought when I wrote my fantasy series that maps would be really, really important part of it. And I know people love a map. In fact, if I get a fantasy book that's got one at the front, I'm sat there studying it. I'm the one that's doing that. But when it came to my own, I sketched out a map for the first section of it, and that's actually what I kept to and never went back and added more and more and more to it because in the end, um, I think it was a guide, and from that point of view, so I do love a map in other people's books, but in mine, it's actually quite a simple one,
Yeah,
oddly enough.
I love it. I love it. The closest I've come to a map is in Cage of Stars, where it gives you an idea as to how the Dyson sphere is made up. It's very basic. A friend of mine drew it out for me, and she did a lovely job of it. But it's like it basically is like different zones within the Dyson sphere, and that's the closest that I get to a map in any of my books. And it pains me pains me because it's like I love maps in books. So I am so excited for the first proper panel, which is happening at 1 p.m. UK time today. I don't know what that'll be EST. That's like 8 o'clock EST or something. So yeah, it's the maps, merch, and bonus materials panel. But on the map side of things, I feel like I would have loved to have had hot takes for that. It would have been great. But my first maps I remember looking at in books were in the Redwall series. Did you ever read Redwall, Nick, or was that something that
No, I
bypassed
didn't.
you? Oh, it's great.
No, that one bypassed me. My first maps were basically Lord of the Rings, so that was where I would have
Wow.
started with them, and the actual that element to it. And a lot of the maps that I dealt with were I did a lot of role playing, a lot of GMing as you know, through my teen years and my 20s. So a lot of the map structures were around those,
Mm.
which is where the complexity and interest comes from. And I think that's where a lot of the fascination with people of in the map idea in their books has always developed from, because there's some really complex ones out there.
Yeah, there are. It's like, and I love that when you open a book and there's a map there. For some reason, I just feel like comforted by it. I read a book a couple of years back, The Cartographers by Pung Shepherd. Incredible book, but it's for the map nerds, and it's such a homely book because you're reading it and you're like, yeah, this just speaks to me. It's like it's for everybody who's opened a book and seen a map. You got to read it. It's amazing. It's not an indie book. I know I'll probably get shot by Holly for promoting something that's trad, but I know, boo, right? Get him off. Let's talk about merch, right? Because that's what kind of merch are you a fan of? What would you go for when it comes to merch for book series and for like if indie creators were to be putting merch together?
It's an odd thing, because I think there's this big huge push, isn't there, towards special editions and the art that goes around the special editions. So I love art. I love that element to it, the actual book cover and then how people develop it. And then and you mentioned that what's inside your book as well. You can see it's spreading more and more into the indie realm of having those pieces all the way through a book. And it's that type of thing that, in terms of merch, that the art cards that people produce, the posters, posters of front covers would be ideal for me. Looking at like an A3 size, your wall covered in those types of things. I'm not so much into the mugs and the pens and all those types of things that people do. But it has to be, and so for me, it has to have the art that goes with it. And I suppose, you can branch out into your t-shirts and your hoodies and all those things as well.
Yeah,
Not something I've ever done.
one thing that I would love that appeals and speaks to my boyish heart is action figures and little spaceships and things, as you can see from this, right? I love that
I get
type of
that
merch,
very much.
right? Like I feel like that's like the pinnacle of merch, right? So for me, like my wish list is for someone to read one of my books at some point in the future and then create like an action figure. That is like the dream for like my author goals. But that to me is like, we don't see that in the indie sphere. I know we've got access to things like 3D printing and that kind of thing, but I would love to see like the Kickstarter where it's like get the book and the action figures. Like I would love that so much. It's great.
I think I think it's coming. I think people are beginning just to sneak some of those in. And they are beginning to appear. I saw a couple of Kickstarters recently where it had to have the development work and they'd sketched out the plan for them, and that was happening.
Oh, I love it.
So I think figures are certainly a coming thing. I have a friend, Martin Lejeune, who co-wrote the McMurdo Rift books, and he loves his badges. He collects the Star Trek badges and things like that. So actually have that your if you think about your chapter ornaments and things, if you're bringing those into badges and using that type of thing as something that you can actually produce the metal pin badges that go with that, there's a thing that I might be tempted by. So
Yeah.
but I can get the figures definitely, and the ships are going to happen at some point.
Totally right. Like as soon as you've got your spaceship that you've like created and you're holding it in your hands and you're going, it's like that's peak that. Um, The next panel that we've got is 4 p.m. UK time. Fangs, Fantasy, and Fae. The three Fs. So I'm not on that panel, and I'm an F. But it's all good. It's fine. Let's talk about writer's block, because you mentioned earlier about as long as you got ideas, then it's good, right? Um, do you ever get periods of writer's block, Nick?
No. And now I'm going to regret saying that, aren't I? From that point of view. As soon as I've said it,
as a
it's out
leading
there in the open.
question. It's my fault. You can blame me. It's fine. What
I
is it
think
that keeps you writing though?
I think it's different, isn't it? I think writer's block tends to there's two different types, I think, of writer's block. You get those who can't generate the idea, can't start the book.
Mm.
And then you get those people halfway through who are just looking at it going, I don't know where else to go. The book has lost me almost in terms of where I am and where I'm going, and I don't know where to pitch things next. And there's the odd occasion I've got to there. But it's the starting of the book I don't generally find difficult. And I have little plans in my own head in terms of how I approach each chapter structure. But what I tend to do is make sure that I write the first line or the first paragraph of the next chapter, so that the idea that's spinning around in my head gets down on paper. Even if I rewrite it when I come back, I've got the start point next and the next start point each time to keep me flowing. And then the other problem I have is that my characters talk to me in my head while I'm typing, which is an odd thing. I think some people say it happens, others don't. But generally, the conversation is flowing in my head as it flows into the keyboard, and I don't tend to have the writer's block because they took me somewhere new anyway that I wasn't planning on going. And there's a lot of tangential stuff. I may have what I would call an A4 plan to begin with, but by the end of it, I've gone off on so many different tangents in terms of where they are because of where that takes me. So I generally, and I understand how people can end up with writer's block, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. My trick is to never end on a full sentence if I finish a writing session. Always end mid-sentence, because then when you pick the book up, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember where I was. Like having that issue starting, because I think once you conquer that hurdle, you can keep writing, right? I think a lot of people have that thing where the empty page is the thing that stops them from writing, and as long as you've got something on there, which is why maybe that's why I struggle with beginnings so much. I was talking about this on Friday, because we had that beginnings panel, and in the Good Morning Indie on Friday with Niels and Trudy was chatting about how beginning a story is like my nemesis, because I'm always rewriting them because they never work. When I get to the end of a book, I have to go back and start from a completely different spot. But I feel like it's maybe a good thing that I'm just starting a book, even if I know it's in the wrong spot. Because once you've started, it's like you've got the ball moving, then, haven't you? Which is good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's easier to go once you've made that. It's like the chapter starts that I talked about earlier. Once you've made that start, yes, you can go back and you can change and alter and develop it. And my wife, who is one of my readers for the stories, doesn't like science fiction or fantasy. However, helps me through, will always say that my starts actually, it takes a while for things to pick up and for everything to slot together, and that's where you have to go back and re-slot all that and restructure it slightly. But then, because I've made that start, like you just said, you can keep going. You can actually develop what's going on with the story and have that space to then go back and alter it.
Do you subscribe to the theory as well that writing isn't necessarily always putting words down on the page? Like there are other aspects to writing. Like you need to take time to soak in a world and to imagine, and to, if you're struggling to get writing, you might have been thinking about your characters non-stop for months, but you don't class that as writing because you haven't written any words down. Like, do you think part of the writer's block myth is that idea that unless you're putting words on the page, you're not really writing, and that viewpoint is the thing that we need to challenge, do you think?
I think that comes with the amount you write. So the in terms of the amount of time and words you've got on a page over time, whether that's published or not unpublished, it's about actually having the bravery to say, I can take a step back. I can think about these sections. I can go away and, I can go off and do a hike and actually cogitate over those things. I've had some of my bits where things haven't fitted together and it's going wrong and you need something that will weave in and out of that. Those have happened, from 3 o'clock in the morning when I suddenly woken up to halfway up an edge somewhere in the Peak District, looking down at the view, thinking, yeah, Starship, when it's a river and a bridge.
Yeah.
It's those things, they click in at the strangest of moments. But yeah, I think you've got to have the bravery to say, actually, I need to take a step back, or I need to think of it in a different way. I need to evolve this part of it. And yes, it's part of the writing process.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I have got so many files on my computer that are stories that have reached 10,000 words, and then I've stopped writing them and I've never gone back to them because I needed to step away and have that percolating time because it's not ready. Like I could keep writing it, but it would just die on re-edits because it's like I'm not ready. I haven't given enough. I haven't had enough time for my subconscious to mush over that. So I started it out thinking I'm ready, and then it's come to an end. That's not writer's block. That's just giving myself the headspace. And I think it's one of those things where I view those as like on the go projects. But I've been writing some books for like years and years and years and years, but I haven't added words to them. But they've just been slowly going around. It's like I think that's the thing where if we can redefine what writer's block actually is, like hardly any of us are blocked, right?
I think we end up once you've named something, it becomes a thing, doesn't it? It becomes a reality, rather than actually, the concept is actually very, very different to what the name gives over. And I think block, it's one of those things. As soon as you think of a block, then that's where you're going to be at. It's trying not to put yourself in that position in the first place. And yeah, I mean, we've all got bits and pieces here and there. But stepping away is can be just as positive a thing as it is just them ploughing on through and ending up with something that you're unhappy with.
Let's see if any of that makes it into the panel later, because the panel's going to it's the first live panel of today, 7 p.m. It'd be fascinating to see the insights of the authors that are there talking about that. But yeah, hopefully if something like that if our conversation has resonated with you, you'll hopefully get something out of that panel, which would be really, really nice. Following on the heels of that at 8 p.m., just pretty much straight on the back of that panel, it's rewriting the warrior code. Warriors, Nick. Tell us about warriors.
So I saw the name of this panel. I was sat there thinking, what do they actually mean? So in terms of rewriting the warrior code, are we looking at the way people have approached their warriors? Are we looking at the different definitions of it? So this is where you might just have to help me a little bit here, Fraser, in terms of is there the focus on that panel?
Yeah.
Are they going towards that concept, or?
I think it's one of those situations where when we look at like the typical heroes of our stories, when we look at the typical warriors of our stories, they fit a certain mold, right? But so many stories lately have played around with that idea of what makes a hero. What do heroes look like?
Yes.
Is it necessarily the person who wields the sword the best, or is it the person? There are so many characters in fantasy that hold this gentle power, and it's like, even in terms of characters that are untrustworthy, but they are the warriors and they are the heroes. You never really, you did get things like that back in the day, but it wasn't the mainstream. It wasn't the main type of warrior you'd get. You'd get the good versus evil. And I think it's probably going to be a panel that looks at sort of how that has changed over time and where we're at now with that. And is there, how do you now go about creating a warrior character? Do you lean into the tropes? Do you lean into the things that subvert that? Do you try and rewrite it and do something different? Or where do you fall? What kind of a warrior it is going to be right for you? I think that's probably where the panel is going to lean. Hopefully. Either that or I've gone completely wrong and we can just talk about that and then the panel will be different later. It's fine.
So it's basically, I mean, if you're looking at shifting the concept of what a hero is, I mean, one of the taglines that I have within sorry, in A Queen and Blood is not all heroes carry swords. Which is and it's that the whole series is actually based on the switch of power. So I think this is what you're basically talking about. So I have I have a seven gods houses which basically have set and oversee scripture, banning magic, banning science, medieval science, and keeping that under heavy supervision. You have a royalty that's basically a puppet royalty. And during the three books, you get an evolving picture actually of what's happening, and the scripture cracks, and it's all full of lies that become exposed. But by the end of the three books, you've got the switch of power from the religion to the royalty, the queen having to rise up to try and save her people. But alongside of that, you've got those people who were overseeing the scripture, who have dealt with 1,000 years of lies for a massively good reason, despite doing it in such a terrible way. And both can be visualized as heroes, despite one, despite a group of people, the overseer in particular, living a life of lies and deceit and duplicity all this time, but actually for a really, really good reason. And then the rise of a queen who can't accept that anymore. You've got those people who can be regarded as heroes in very different ways. And I think that's that type of concept. It's emerged, hasn't it, from the darker edges of fantasy and sci-fi. It's emerged from the idea of the grey hero, in terms of how they act and how they are. So you've got those types of warriors, if you like, on top of that. I also like if I do have warriors in my books, which I often do, they've got to have flaws. You can't have perfect. You can't have the glowing person that wades through the battlefield, whether it's with blaster in hand or sword in hand, and they've not have a problem that's going on in their life somewhere. And you can look at people like Abercrombie for that type of thing, and Tchaikovsky in terms of adding flaws to those type of characters, which have been really powerful in terms of their impact.
Yeah, totally. I think it's like the Bob Kane Batman was great, but the Frank Miller Batman was very different beast. And it's like it's the same thing. It's it's the same character. You've got the same heart there, except you've got a completely different type of hero. And I think that's a really fascinating. I think we're seeing that in fantasy a lot more. We're stepping away from the whole sort of like, well, wizards are like this, or that this is the box for these creatures. It's we're looking outside of that now, and I think that's great. And that when that applies to warriors and what makes a warrior, that's exciting for me, because I love heroes that I can relate to. Can't always relate to the guys who don't have flaws. It's a good thing. So yeah, that'll be an interesting panel. That'll be good. And then our very last panel. Yeah, me too. Our very last panel of the day, 9 p.m. UK time. We're going to be chatting with some of the people who are going to be speakers at our live in-person event that's happening on May 23rd at the Shrewsbury Flaxmill. Ticket, there is no charge for coming and joining along, so it's not something where you have to pay to get in. You can get in completely free. We've made it that way. So it'll be really nice to meet some of the speakers who are going to be there, that you'll be able to meet and chat with on the day. How are you feeling about these live events and things, Nick? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I mean, I was there for the 2024 event. Yeah. Trying to think back, I am feeling old. As a reader and as an observer, and I really enjoyed the panels that I watched on. It was great meeting the people as well outside of all of that and chatting to them. I spent a lot of time. That's where I met D.B. Rook in particular and his books, and you encounter something a little bit different in those environments, and they become real people. I know we talked about People talk about the use of social media now, and it's a face front and having your face there and everything else. But actually, talking to someone and interacting with them is very different from all of that. And you discover the motivations and their interests and where they are and their tangents as well. The panels are very good at introducing some tangents along the way about where people are thinking. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Excellent. It's going to be great this year. I can't wait. And that panel that's happening later on, you'll get an idea as to some of the authors that'll be there. So if you are interested in coming along to Shrewsbury, tune in later. Have a look, see if any of the authors that are going to be on our speaker panel sort of entice you into coming along, because it'd be great to see you there. Nick, tell us a little bit. Thank you first of all for helping us review the day. I'm so excited about today now. Like I'm already sort of like juiced up for it. It's going to be great. Tell us, everybody, where they can find you. Tell them about what books, where they can find your books, where they can find you online.
Yeah. Well, basically, I think, with dark fantasy and science fiction, and probably just a little bit more subverted in terms of those terms and what I do. So I have a dark fantasy series, Warriors of Spirit and Bone, which is arcane punk. So if we're looking at subverting things, that's where we can go with that. So you have to imagine steampunk, where the machines, particularly the dragons, are all powered by soul magic, souls that they perhaps eaten along the way. So I generally like to subvert those things. My work is, particularly that series, is influenced by Michael Moorcock in particular, whose writing probably was one part of my formative reading experiences. And then I write the science fiction. We talked about the Warrior Code earlier. I do like to have my characters flawed, but I also like them to have a richness. So though I write probably what people would call action science fiction, bordering some of the early stuff on military sci-fi, a lot of it has much deeper level characters than you might find in some other versions, or I like to think so anyway. The reviews all talk about the emotive development that I have there, the found family feel. And found family tends to be a theme that creeps into my books. It's not always deliberate. In particular, the series I'm doing at the moment, The Wrecking Squad, which has a pair of empath twins, projective empath twins, who are part of the crew, and are drawn into that found family feel, but heavily protected by everybody else. Different types of heroes in terms of that. So that's where I am with those things. My latest project, I'm right to hold up a book.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I've got to hold this one up. So this is the latest thing I'm part of, is Neosynthesis. I've got to hold that there. That's this cover. That's why I have to hold the book up. Which is a science fiction anthology. 12 stories of code, consciousness, and survival, which I've done with 5 of the indie authors. That's our latest project that's come out. So 12 short stories, of which I've contributed to. And that's been an exciting project, because I've learned so much from working with different people, reading different styles, engaging with different thought process about how to put a short story together. So that's one of the biggest projects I've been involved with recently. That's been amazing to be part of, and that's out now. All my books are available through Amazon.
Neosynthesis is
Go on, say that again.
It's a great title, Neosynthesis. It's
I know.
Yeah. I'm just marveling at it. I'm just like, yes, like it's perfect.
It's about the blending between obviously computers and people and language. So you've got it all comes in together in that way. And so all my books are available on Amazon, and wider as well. I'm part of Ingram, so a lot of the Barnes and Nobles, the Waterstones have my books. So you can basically get them anywhere. You can find me at nicksnape.com, and I'm on all the socials with some combination of my name.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for joining us, Nick. It's been great chatting. In terms of where you can find the Big Indie Weekend, obviously here on the Spotlight Indie YouTube channel, keep tuned in and you'll see what's coming next. And hopefully you can join us for some of our panels through today. You can find us also on spotlightindie.co.uk. Don't forget if you've not already joined the Patreon. We now have a Patreon that has recently launched. So come support us on that, and then you can have a share in supporting more events like this and like our live event that's going to be happening in Shrewsbury in May. You can find all the details about that on Spotlight Indie. But save the date, come along to Shrewsbury at the Flaxmills, enjoy the rest of this day, and thank you, Nick. Good morning, Indies.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.